Good morning. Welcome everyone. I know some of you are longtime teachers, some of you are just starting out, but we're going to talk today about the zone of proximal development. My name is Inez Rivera. I'm an outreach consultant at Farmersville Junior High School. And we're going to discuss what this means and how you can implement this in your classrooms. So we'll go ahead and begin. First of all, what does this mean? Well, the zone of proximal development is actually the gap between a child's actual developmental level and their higher level of potential development through problem solving under adult guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers. Okay, so if you look down here at the chart that I have, you see your child's current achievement level, and then you see up here in yellow, beyond research and at present. This is where you want them to be. Okay, this pink part is the gap between those two, where they're at and where they can be, what their potential is. And when you surround them with, more capable peers or adult guidance, that helps close that gap. Proximal simply means the next, so it's kind of like the step into the next level. The ZPD, or Zone of Proximal Development, defines functions that have not yet matured but are in the process. Just like you see here, a plant that's kind of blooming, growing. They also like to look at it as the buds of learning. So they're not quite a flower yet, they're the buds growing into the flower. Also, the ZPD is separating actual development from potential development, like we had discussed earlier. Right here, you can't really see it very well, but this is where they're at, the capabilities that they've already developed. Okay, and over here is the undeveloped capabilities, which would be their potential, where you want them to be. In the middle, this is the gap, the developing capabilities. Now, how do you implement this in your classroom? Well, according to Vygotsky, social interaction plays a fundamental role in the development of cognition. So like we discussed earlier, when you have this social interaction with the child, you're actually trying to get them into that potential stage of learning where you want them to be. When a child interacts with an adult, or you, their teacher, or other students, this helps fill in the gap. They develop those undeveloped skills that they didn't know they had. So they are at one level, and when you sit them with another student or with yourself, you work with them, you are going to, they may not be in that level that you want them to be at, but when you're working with them, you're opening up those doors, you're stimulating those thinking processes, those thinking caps that we like to call it. Also in the classroom, the child is interacting with others in his or her environment. You want to keep them in an environment that they feel comfortable in. So in this case, it would be your classroom. You don't want to really pull them aside, because then it just kind of takes them away from the environment that they feel comfortable in. So what can you do in the classroom? First, like I said, you could sit them next to another student who you know is more advanced. That's when your seating charts come in handy. You want to sit maybe Johnny, that may be below basic on his CST scores, next to maybe Katie, that's proficient or advanced, and encourage that group work. That's another one. Encourage the group work, encourage them to work together. Give them questions that can be challenging. We don't want to give them something that they can answer, quickly. You want them to answer them, but you want them to think. You want them to work together to figure out how to get to the answer that they're searching for. Activate prior knowledge. I know some of you use that in your classrooms, where you have them recall a time when they did something back in first grade, recall a time when they learned a certain piece of a book, a certain piece of material. Verbal cues that prompt answers. You want to give them sort of like hints. So if you're working with them, if you're being that tool for them, you want to give them, kind of cues that will help them understand, help them find the answer that they're looking for. If not, they will get frustrated. Graphics work very well for visual learning. I know in some classrooms you guys are already implementing the whiteboards at each student's desk. That's a great way. They're able to write it in front. They see the problem. Pictures, things on the overhead, even video clips really help well. Modeling an activity before students must complete it. You don't want to give your students something that they don't know where to go from there. You need to give them guidance, and that's where that whole guidance comes in play. You want to, show them what you expect from them, show them how to get to where they need to go. And remember their own experiences. That kind of goes in with activating prior knowledge. Okay. All that we just talked about is actually called scaffolding. This is the process through which you or the more competent peer or students in class give aid to the student in his or her ZPD as it's necessary. Okay, so you want to give them this help, you want to give them these tools and these aids, but you also want to begin to taper this help off once you see that they're moving forward and once you see that they're doing things on their own and getting to where they need to go. This is actually a guide in the child's learning, so it's a guide, but then yet we don't want to just hover over the student also. In scaffolding, there are 5 main characteristics. I'm just going to let you know what those are. 1, providing support. You'll function as a tool and extend the range of the worker. Allow the worker to accomplish the task that is at hand. And the last one is aiding the worker where it's needed. So if you follow these 5 characteristics, these 5 steps in scaffolding, you're sure to get to succeed in the end. The student will be sure to succeed in the end and hopefully bridge that gap of their ZPD in order to reach their full potential. Now, we do use ZPD in a lot of different reading programs. This year, we're actually going to be implementing the Accelerated Reader program that gives books that are not too hard nor too easy to students and tests them on where their level, what level they need to be at, where they're at, and kind of helps them move up to the desired reading level. Also on our STAR tests, believe it or not, the reading in the STAR tests also suggests a ZPD level. So all those tests we take at the end of the year are a tool for us to kind of evaluate where our students are at. The main thing in this, in Accelerated Reader and in reading for the ZPD, is that you don't want to give your students something that's too easy, because then they get bored, right? You don't want to give them something that's too hard, because then they get frustrated and they don't want to go any further. So we got to find something in that middle ground, something in between. And lastly, the zone of proximal development is full development. It depends on full social interaction. So this whole theory of the zone of proximal development is focused on social interaction, whether it be with students in the classroom or with you, their teacher. So is there any questions? Okay, thank you very much.